Right, how's everyone doing? We are here. Yes, yes. We are here. State of the real estate market. Welcome, everyone. It looks like we do have sound. Sound is good. All right. So, guys, we're going to dive right on into this because we have a great episode. For those of you, this is your first time. Welcome. Welcome to the platform, State of the Real Estate Market. Now, this is the April edition. Time is going by fast. Let me tell you, April 2026, the time is going by fast. There is so much going on. I'm here to tell you about the real estate market. Give you guys the update, letting you know what's going nationally, what's going for the state of Florida, for the Tampa Bay area, for commercial real estate, and for our investors. So action-packed episode. So I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you all for being aboard. We're gonna get here started very, very, very soon. Give me 1 second here. We're gonna. All right, there you go. There you go. Now you can see me a bit better. All right. So welcome aboard once again. We'll go ahead and dive right on into this. Let me make sure you guys can see me as we go through this. So Boing. Right. So, guys, this is the April edition. I'm glad you guys are all a part of this and you guys are on board. So, it is Friday, the 17th, 1 p.m. ish, and we'll go ahead and dive into it. So, for the theme this month, I always like to have a theme. This theme is inventory is improving, rates are still workable. Negotiation is back. So negotiation is back. So for our buyers, this means leverage is real again. For our sellers, you can still win if you price right. Gotta price it right. And for my investors, we love you guys. Discipline beats hype. Do not fall for the hype. Keep that in mind, guys. So it is a spring 2026 real estate reset for our buyers. Let's talk about it, guys. So, buyers, more inventory means more choices. Yes, it does. More choices. And that was the issue before. It was low inventory. The market was being controlled by the sellers. And when the buyers came in, especially if you have buyers that are being imported from other markets where the markets are very high, and they come to a market where they're like, wow, I can get this much house for this little amount of money. And for all the local people, they're like, what are you guys doing with the prices? That's what was happening. But right now we have more inventory, which means more choices for our buyers. So this is all about leverage again, guys. Negotiation is back on prices and terms. Keep in mind those terms. Terms are very key. It's not always about the price, the terms. We'll talk a little bit more about that throughout this episode. Payment discipline still matters more than rate chasing. Yes, stop chasing the rates. Understand the big picture. And the big picture is understanding what the payment is. What is that monthly investment going to be for our buyers? On to the sellers. So our sellers, like I said, it is a market. People are buying homes, and trust me, people are buying homes. Um, the market rewards clean presentation. Yes, it does. Overpricing is punished faster now. Yes, you're going to feel it. If your home is being priced too high, pandemic high, let's call it that. Pandemic, PH. We'll call it PH. PH, pandemic high. I like that. PH. If your property is for sale and it's PH, you're going to be feeling that very quickly, and that's going to be a result of less showings. Less showings means less eyes are taking a look at the property, and less potential buyers are taking the seller serious. Concessions can beat stall listings, and what we mean by that is that concessions can be a situation sometimes with sellers. So sellers, be mindful of what kind of concessions you are offering or being flexible to provide. Put it that way. A lot of times when we say placing your property on the market and placing it on the market such that it attracts the buyers. Not saying, hey, I'm a price is so high because I plan on providing these different incentives or different types of concessions. Don't do that, because what happens is if they see it that high, they're not going to potentially get eyes on the property. So you have to place it where you're going to get the action and test your market and pay attention to it. And I understand some markets may not have that opportunity for you to fully see the bigger picture. Totally understand. And for my investors, been seeing a lot of you guys lately. Discipline beats hype. And this is something that I've been telling you guys about for a good period of time now. Good period of time. Don't believe the hype. Make sure you are being disciplined and know your numbers. Understand why you are purchasing a property. Why is it an investment? Investors, you're not buying retail typically. Okay. You're not buying retail. If you're buying multi units, you're probably looking more at the income. It's going to be income based. If you are looking at smaller properties, what that means that you need to make sure that you're getting the leverage, whether it be with the equity when you first purchase the property, if you plan on flipping the property, which right now is not a very high market for flipping. However, there are still great opportunities. Understand your market. That's what it is. Understand your market. So, investors, focus on cash flow and durability. Yes. Value added and redevelopment still work. Yes, it does. And I've been telling you guys, especially these properties that you're finding that are a little bit older. And what I mean by older, like these older style bungalow homes that were built on these oversized lots, a lot of your metro areas are being a bit more flexible with ADUs, and that gives you an opportunity to be a bit more income producing for that property. So if you have a property on the market, you see a property that's on the market, and it's old style bungalow, oversized lot, look at it as if you're going to build an additional unit, add an additional unit, or if there's a porch that you can close in where you can add an extra room and bathroom to that particular property. That's a value adding to a property. Tampa remains on the commercial real estate radar in 2026. And we'll talk about that ranking for the Tampa Bay area as well. So much to be mindful of. So treat the market as a leverage check and not a hype cycle. Ooh, I like that wording. Leverage check and not a hype cycle. So, as we cover the different topics in today's episode of State of the Real Estate Market with yours truly, Chris Brown, be sure to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on social media. You can find my handle. It's at Chris Brown RE Pro. Yes, Chris Brown RE Pro. You can find me on social media. Love to chat with you. Feel free to set up a one-on-one. I'll see you there. So things that we're going to cover in today's episode: national snapshot, sales inventory, pricing, and affordability. Like I said, I usually like to start out here, bring it out to a national level, then I narrow it down. Then we go to the Florida market. We're talking about sales momentum, listings, pricing pressure, going down even more to the Tampa Bay area. And then primarily if you guys see any statistic, it's only going to include 3 of the Tampa Bay counties, and that's Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Manatee County. So keep that in mind. Also, rates, financing, and a tougher April rate market. Yes, the market we experienced some lows in regarding interest rates, but they did start ticking back up. So keep that in mind. Builders, development, investing, and commercial real estate. We love that. We love that. We love that last topic there. Builders, development, investing, and commercial real estate. Woo, gives me chills. National snapshot. We're going to say we've noticed that the market has softened a little bit in March, but prices stay sticky. Now, keep in mind, somebody asked me this question before. Why are we in April and we're talking about March numbers? Guys, keep in mind, this is the market update. So we get all the numbers from the previous month. I don't have the numbers for the month of April. So keep that in mind. Somebody sent me a message in reference to that. But that's why that is like it is. Keep that in mind. So existing home sales 3.98 million, inventory 1.36 million homes, which is actually a 4.1 month of supply of homes. Median home price nationally, keep in mind, nationally, we're up a little bit year over year. Record high for the month of March. Affordability index 113.7, down from 117.5 in February. So keep that in mind. Affordability. Those prices, like we said, are sticky. Prices are sticky. So what matters on a national snapshot as we go over this information, and I'm giving you guys these numbers? What do the numbers mean? What does it actually mean? Okay, guys. So, and also keep in mind, the first number I gave you guys was existing home sales. It's 3.98 million, and that's actually down year over year and month over month. So keep that in mind. So year over year, it's down 1%, and then month over month, it's down 3.6%. So that's existing home sales. So we're going to see what's going to happen, especially next month when you guys chime in with me and say, "Hey, Chris, when are you doing that market update again?" And we know that traditionally, that the month of April is traditionally like that, the start of the sale season, as they call it, start of the sale season. I know I'm excited about it. I'm getting potential sellers excited about it as well as I'm trying to ramp up my business. So keep that in mind. But what matters? Inventory improved again, okay? But supply is still below historical norms. Strangely enough, even though we're seeing more properties hit the market, but keep that in mind, that is still historically low. Home prices are still rising because inventory is growing slowly, not flooding the market. So people are being a bit strategic. Well, now, if I'm a seller, people are selling because they have a reason to sell. You don't have as many people just placing them homes on the market just trying to get a ridiculous price for their home. Now that did happen during PH, you know, uh, PH. What I mean by that is people were just saying, "Hey, if they gave me this particular price, I would go ahead and move." And people were getting it. There's like, "Oh, I guess I got to move because I got a ridiculous amount for my home." Now, you don't have as many people with that because now they're thinking, if I place my property on the market, what's my next move? Do I want to pay the higher interest rate, get less of a home, possibly? Then also, I'm feeling quite comfortable with my 3%, possibly less than 3% interest rate that I have right now. So a lot more thinking and going into placing your property on the market. A lot of people who are selling their homes, life has happened. Life is happening to them. So life happens. You got to sell. You have to move. Keep that in mind. So National Association of Realtors cut its 2026 sales growth forecast to 4%. Ooh, to 4% because rates moved up again. So as I mentioned, we were trending downwards with the interest rates, and rates were looking quite well, and people were hopping off the fence. And I mean those buyers that were potentially thinking about buying a home, they were coming off the fence and saying, "Hey, this may be the opportunity." So keep that in mind. Interest rates, when those rates go up, people begin to start straddling that fence once again, start hesitating, just because that's the natural. People want to get a deal these days. We've been so spoiled. During the pandemic time, we were spoiled so much. Low interest rates, below 3% interest rates. So sales soften, but prices are still holding because supply is improving slowly. That's the key. They're not flooding the market with a whole bunch of homes. And even your banks that have properties that are out there that they have in their inventory, they're slowly releasing it, but they are releasing a little bit more. I've noticed that because I have a number of investors that I work with and they see that price point and they're like, "Hey, what can we do to be a part of this as well?" So keep that in mind, guys. Okay, so Florida is active, but it's moving towards a more disciplined market. So, let's get you guys back. So, guys, what we mean by disciplined market, because I had someone else ask me that. Oh, let's get you guys together. So, I've had some people ask me about this disciplined market. What do you mean by this, Chris? You're saying a disciplined market. What is a disciplined market? Let me know something. What is it that you know, Chris, that I do not know? Disciplined market, guys. That's what we're talking about. It means that you can't just go out and just start, especially on the investor side. You have to know what you're looking for, understand your monthly investment, meaning the payment. What is it that you're actually going to want to pay? Understanding that you may be in that payment for a little while. So those who are playing the equity game, like, hey, I'm getting this property for a couple of years, and I know at the end of these next few years, it's going to have this amount of equity. That game has changed a bit. So keep that in mind. Stop playing the equity game. Understand your numbers. Understand you may be, if it's on the investment side, you may be holding on to that property a little bit longer than you originally anticipated. So instead of that 2 to 3 year, now you're probably looking at that 5 year mark. So you really want to look at your plan and really look at if the prices raise slowly for properties and for your investment if that's the game that you're playing. So understand your strategy. Every strategy is not the same. And this is what we mean by don't just follow the hype. Understand your numbers. Discipline, discipline, discipline. And I know my mentees that are out there, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I've been telling you guys. Understand the numbers. This is why you're being disciplined enough to purchase certain investments. And also, if you're purchasing a home, your regular home, your first home, the home that you're going to live in, that's still an investment, guys. Understand your numbers. But sometimes if you have to move, you have to move. And if you have to sell, you have to sell for a reason, particularly. And if you have to buy, you're buying for a particular reason. Okay. So keep that in mind. So we're going to get back into that. Let's not forget. So back into it, guys. All right. So back to the Florida market. So Florida is active, but it is moving towards a more disciplined market. We like these disciplined markets. We like what people are trying to do. So closed sales up 3.9% for single family homes, up 8.6% for condos and townhomes in February. So that's movement. That is movement because we know those condos and townhomes, they were very stale, extremely stale. Trust me, I know. I experienced it. Pending sales up year over year, both property types. And that's when we say both property types, we mean your traditional single family home and then your other property type, which is your condo townhomes. That's how we break that into categories there. Then we have inventory signal. What is it signaling? A surge may slow. So that fast surge that a lot of people were anticipating, it may slow, and it may have a little bit of a bit something to do with the interest rates. We'll see. We'll see. New listings dropped in the month of February, and it may because it may be traditionally for things really not to be picked up in the month of February, and these are the numbers that we're looking at. And then, like I said, this spring, we're going to really anticipate what's going to happen. We're going to pay attention to that. And then the watch list, March report, check morning of if released. So this is something that March report people, when this information comes out, I did not have it fully for inventory just yet. So, and it's just because it is being calculated. So that's what I mean by I put a note here in my presentation. Thanks. Florida message, momentum improved into spring. Yes. So we're going to see, is it going to continue to surge a little bit for the state of Florida as we are currently in April, and we're going to see how this inventory is going to increase. Our sellers really putting their properties on the market. Is that inventory going to increase? More inventory is creating breathing room after several hyper tight years. People are coming off the fence because they're going to sell because they feel a little bit more comfortable and moving and purchasing something else. The advantage is shifting away from sellers and towards stronger negotiation. Ooh, yes, negotiation time. This is negotiation time. Like I said, it's not so much about price, but it's also about those terms. Get the best terms. If you're in the market to purchase a home, get the best terms. You may have some wiggle room in there, even if the price isn't exactly where you want it to be, but see if there's something else that you can negotiate. If you can shift the numbers to be able to buy down your interest rate so now the home becomes a bit more affordable for you, let's work with it. Work with it. Understand, negotiate. Understand what you're negotiating. It's more than just the price. Trust me. What to say basically is the Florida's not crashing. I want you guys to understand that Florida is not crashing. It is normalizing. We've been talking about that for a period of time. Pricing conditions, concessions matter more now. Yes, concessions do matter. How is this property going to actually get sold? So local expertise, understanding what the local expertise. And if you're not from an area and you're selling or buying a home, understand what research is required. Trust me, especially if you're going in my market. We'll talk about the Tampa Bay market here shortly, but in my market, I know it's a big thing for me to have a better understanding of what the market is actually doing. Give me one moment here, guys. Gotcha. I was curious as in what something did on the screen. So there we go. So so what I mean by that, guys, is going into a market and you're not very familiar with it, understand the research that you need to do. So something that, but I was already familiar with the market, but it's something, some of the research that I do a lot of times when I'm placing a property on the market, especially in today's market where you're just not 100% as in what the activity is, okay? Because it's constantly changing. What is the current trend? Not what it was last year. What is it currently doing? Doing the necessary research. So right now, when I know when I'm placing properties on the market for sale, there's an extended amount of research that I'm doing. And I mean extended because I really want to see how things are trending, where we actually need to price the property to actually get eyes on it. Okay. It's not about exactly how much it's worth because you can get it can be a little tricky. Just because you can it's valued at a particular number doesn't mean it shows the value in the buyer's eyes, because that's the most important part, right? Because the value is determined by what the buyer is willing to pay. So keep that in mind. Research wise, if you're especially in the Tampa Bay area and you're dealing with a community that has builders in it and they're still building homes, you're up against at least 20 to $30,000 in incentives that this builder may be offering to any potential buyer. Then you're also faced, especially in the Tampa Bay market, you're faced with the interest rate incentives that they're offering people. People are like, well, why is that property price so high? But then you're like, you're offering a 3 or 4% interest rate on this property? Hmm, makes it a bit more affordable for them. Whereas they've been doing their research at like 6, 7%. And now you're gonna drop the price, so now it makes it a bit more affordable for them. So understand how those incentives works, and when you may be competing with builders, you're not gonna be able to compete with a builder because who wants to automatically just give up 20, $30,000 in equity uh, offhand? That typically doesn't happen. So you have to understand where you have to price it in. It's going to probably be less than what you anticipated. So understanding how to price it, how it enters to market so that you can actually attract those buyers. And if the buyer wants additional incentives, then, push up the price a little bit, you know, push it up a little bit. Push up the price a little bit. When you push up the price a little bit, that's how they can get those incentives. But the key is actually pricing it the right way when you enter the market. When you enter the market, you're going to come across a situation where you're going to start attracting the buyers, start attracting the multiple offer again. Multiple offers are still existing, especially when people are placing a property at the right price. Keep that in mind. So let's keep rocking and rolling, keep rocking and rolling, rocking and rolling. So as we continue with this, going into the Tampa Bay market. So the counties, like I said, guys, I keep a focus on these three counties. Yes, there are a couple of more counties that you can add for the Tampa Bay area. I understand. But we like to make this simple, not confusing. That's what we like to do. Simple and not confusing. So Hillsborough County, keep this in mind. We have broadest buyer pool, strongest transaction volume in the region. Ooh, for Hillsborough County. More inventory means more room to negotiate than last year. keep in mind, and people aren't aware of this, but the interest rates at this time right now are lower than what they were last year. Keep that in mind. Well-priced homes can still move, but stale pricing gets exposed faster. So keep that in mind. Don't place the property at the high market at a higher price point, and then now you're just continuously reducing the price and you're chasing the buyers now. So now you're chasing the market. Where are the buyers at? Where are the buyers at? Go ahead and stick it where it needs to be and see what kind of activity you get. So Pinellas County supply remains tighter in many desirable pockets. Pinellas County is one of those areas where there's not that much land to build new homes on versus say Hillsborough. Hillsborough County has a lot of land, and then Manatee County has a significant amount of land as well. So those are two counties that surround another county that does not have a lot of area to go. So what does that mean? So a lot of people who are in a position to sell their home in Pinellas County, what are they doing? They're selling their home and they're possibly moving to a different county. So keep that in mind. So, what else to consider? Single families still holds better than condo products in many areas, which is true. We understand that condos face more caution around fees, reserves, and insurance. Yes, those fees, that's always been the story, but it's really kicking in lately, especially when you're looking at insurance prices. Florida, a few years back, experienced the two hurricanes in 1 year, actually within a 2 week period. And these were some big boys. Big boy hurricanes. Big boy hurricanes came through and they created havoc, made some damages. People insurance claims were up the yin yang. It was happening. Yin yang and insurance claim. So I like that. Yin yang insurance claim. We can go with that. So other things to keep mindful of: Manatee County more rate sensitive and builder sensitive than the other two counties. So they're paying a bit more closer attention to the market. Watch incentives, new construction competition, and days on market closely. You have to watch that. Now I've seen the buildings or the amount of building that they're doing in Manatee County. I mean, they are it's not that they're just doing communities, but they're doing like towns and essentially cities. What I mean by, and I'll tell you that in a second here, but good negotiation opportunities can appear faster here in Manatee County. So it's opportunities for negotiations, especially when you have a lot of new construction and the builders have lots of incentives. So you find a lot of people making that shift over to Manatee County, but you're finding out that it's changing in these counties, Manatee and Hillsborough County. If there are areas that you're like, what is the name of this city? And they're like, oh, it's Tampa Bay. It's still in the same counties, but it has its own name. And trust me, when I go into this a little bit deeper here, you'll understand why. So, bottom of this slide right here, I have some numbers: average day on market versus list price median, and this is for all three counties. So keep that in mind. I know it's under the Hillsborough tab here, but I want to make sure that you guys follow me here. So average days on market 42 days versus 425K list median price. This is Tampa Bay area, these three counties. Active listings, and keep that in mind, average price 425 is less than the national. I believe that was correct. 425 is greater than the national. Yes, I believe that was it. I believe that was it. But let's just stick to these three counties. But I will go back to that. Active listings 2025 versus 2026. So in 2025, we had 20 at this point in time, we had 21,863 versus 20,000 and just three listings. That's 25 to 26. So that's a little bit down on active listings. So keep that in mind. And then sell price median. So sell price median, this is why I was thinking about price median. So sell price median, and this is what I mean by this. So list price, this is price that it comes onto the market as versus the price that it actually sells at. And this is a sell price median. So when I was going through that situation there, that's what I meant. So 393K. So what's happening is some people are coming to the market and price reductions are happening. People are actually having to do price reductions. So when they're getting onto the market and the properties not selling, and that's basically what that means. When the property is not selling, that's what's happening. They're going to have to reduce the price. Now, Why do people reduce the price? Because what happens is when you reduce the price, you're actually trying to see if you can place your property into what the market actually is. So maybe properties, you place them on the market on an average of 425. Buyers aren't there. They're shifting more towards that 393, that sub 400 median price. Now, obviously, if you're dealing with properties that are a bit more, I have a situation like that as well, where I'm dealing with a property where the pricing point is much less. Excuse me, guys, but the pricing point is much less, and excuse me, it's much higher. So when you're looking like five, six, 700,000, the competition is a little, it's a different buyer pool as well. Typically, when you're getting properties that are above that 600,000, even around that 500, but typically, especially when you're around that six, 700,000, you're typically dealing with a buyer that's coming with about a 20% down. They're usually transitioning from one property to the next property, and they're usually getting a big chunk from their current property and being able to place it towards their new property, especially if they're looking to go to scale up. A lot of people, so that means they're upsizing. Some people they're downsizing. So they'll have a big chunk, but they may be buying a home and say, hey, we may be looking at 400, 300. Well, I don't know exactly what you're going to get for 300. There are properties in that price point, but they may be buying more towards the median price point. Okay. So 425, they're putting down like one, two, depending upon what part of the country they're coming from. They may 300, 400,000. Yeah, I have people that are especially moving from out west and they're paying cash for their home because now they sold their home and they have four or 500,000 of equity. Now they're going to go ahead and buy a newer home, nicer home, larger home, and pay cash for it. So that's what happens. I spoke with a gentleman. I was on the road. We stopped at the restaurant, and the gentleman, you know, I asked him, say, "Hey, is the food in there good?" It was like a off the side road restaurant. Never heard. It's one of those small restaurant. Well, it wasn't a small restaurant. It was like a non um, commercialized. Oh, I can't think of. It wasn't a chain. It wasn't a chain restaurant, but they were serving breakfast, and it had like this country feel to it. So when a gentleman walked out, I was like, "Hey, is the food good?" And he was like, "Hey, food's good. It was pretty decent." He's like, "Hey, I've been coming here past few weeks. I just moved to the area. I was living out west in California. Sold my property there that I had lived in for," he said, like 25 years, almost 30 years. And he came to that area. It was like North Florida. He was in North Florida, almost Georgia, because like in that Valdosta area. So he said he paid cash for his home. He said he is happy. He is happy. He's not on the hustle and bustle trying to get his properties to work, to pay the mortgage each month. He said he has a free and clear home. He has, he was like in a medical field or something along those lines. So he was still making decent money. He was able to transfer over, upgrade his license. Medical field, they're always in need, especially nurses, always in need. And he said he was happy. He said he's fishing every weekend, his time away. He's loving life. And I was like, man, I can sense that freedom in his voice. He was expressing the freedom that he's experiencing. So, but let's go ahead and get through this, guys. So, what we have up next, let's get into this. Let me get you guys over to that. Okay. So that was the Tampa Bay market. So like I said, we narrowed this down. We went from the national, then we went to the Florida market, Florida, what's happening Florida wise, and then we narrowed it down to the Tampa Bay market. That's my particular market. So you guys, that's why I narrow it down that way. So late February relief window tightening again in April. So that means that we had some release in February. That means that those interest rates were dropping, and once they started going up, things started tightening back up. So this the rates and financing section always like to provide this to show you guys different ways that you may be able to navigate or the mindset that you should have moving or thinking when you're moving towards purchasing or selling your home, understanding the rates and financing. So 30-year fixed 6.37%, and this is according to from Freddie Mac as of April 9th. 30-year fix Freddie Mac for March time, 6%. So that's that difference. So 6% March 5th, to 6.37% in, say, April 9th. 15-year fix, 5.74%. That was April 9th, Freddie Mac. Then a year ago, 6.65%. Remember, I made that comment that rates are less than what it was last year. So this is another example of 6.65% as of last year, the 30-year average. Keep that in mind. Financing plays that still work. What's actually working out there? Seller credits to cut cash to close and down and buying down the interest rate. So if you're looking for less money to actually have to come out of pocket, say if you're going to have to come out $23,000. So say if you had the seller increase that price point a little bit and take that price point and be able to apply it to your closing costs. So that's typically broken up over 30-year terms. So now it makes a huge difference in what your monthly investment's going to be. Keep that in mind. Builder incentives on inventory homes. Oh, trust me. If a builder right now, especially in my market, if a builder has completed a home and they need to get it sold, trust me, if the property is built and it's ready to go, ready, move in, ready like day one, they will give you incentives galore to get that property sold. Trust me, they will. They want to get rid of that property ASAP. And that's why it's a challenge for anybody that's a resale and they're competing against builders. When builders have inventory, they will, it's not necessarily the slashing. They may drop the interest rate and they make it a bit more affordable. So that means if interest rates were at that, say, 6.37, and they're like, hey, we're going to offer 4%. We're going to get you financing at 4%. And builders can do this. Trust me. This is not fake news. This is not fake news. Builders can actually do this and they will give you a loan at that 4%. So it makes it a lot more affordable. And that helps with the buyer's pool. So that's why people are still going to builders right now, because they understand the incentives, or they're working with a real estate professional that understands that. And then on my investor side, you guys, I love you guys. Guys are paying attention to the interest rates. Understand, don't just get into these properties. Payment first underwriting. Yes, understand what the payment is. Build around what is livable, those interest rates. Protect reserves and avoid chronic payment stress. Don't be house poor, as I call it. You have a nice home, you're living in a nice home, but you're struggling because your payment is ridiculous and it stresses you out. Health is wealth. Keep that in mind, guys. Health is wealth. So don't wait for the perfect rates. Structure a livable deal. What's going to make it a little bit easier for you guys, right? What's going to make life easier and not so stressful? Okay, for my builders, developers, and supply, let's talk about this. When supply expands, disciplines, buyers and developers get better entry points. It's how you're getting into the market. Yes, this is very, very important. More supply means more options and better terms. In multifamily, recent Sunbelt, especially in that Sunbelt area, supply waves are still muting near-term rent growth. Understand that, guys. Industrial demand remains solid, but development is more disciplined now because financing is tighter. Yes. So if you are looking at deals, I actually was looking at a development deal, and at one point, this would have been a great opportunity. However, when you're looking at what's going on, the pricing that you have to consider, especially investment, that if it's a zoning change, how much it's going to cost, then you have to do blueprints. You're gonna have to get your prints drawn up, paying somebody, understanding there's so much more the soft cost that's involved. You have to really consider that soft cost when you're negotiating the final price. Keep that in mind. Developer takeaway: supply expansion creates opportunity, but only for disciplined buyers, underwriters, and small developers who can separate real value from fake deals. Just because they say it's a deal doesn't necessarily mean it's a deal. Run your numbers, guys. Investing here in 2026. We always like to, this is a hot topic. Smart money is being selective again. Got to be selective, understanding your number. What matters now? Cash flow over hype, value add, as we mentioned before, real underwriting on insurance. Those cost that a lot of people do not consider. Insurance, that's a big deal here in the Tampa Bay area or Florida itself. Understand what insurance is going to be. Taxes, HOA, maintenance fees, those fees add up. That can eat into your monthly cash flow. Understand it. Selective redevelopment beats broad spectrum. Keep that in mind. Hot sectors, multifamily, industrial, data centers. Yes, data centers remain one of the strongest as we are entering into the AI era. Office is selective, but a blanketed opportunity. Especially, this is where it really becomes a big deal. And that's why we had a lot of big corporations considering the Tampa Bay market because they saw these big buildings, office spaces, significantly less than where they in their market. So they were willing to make that move. So keep that in mind as we are going through this. These are opportunities that I continuously talk to you guys about. Some things I want to make sure that I did mention. This is the mindset investors need to have in 2026. Items that we discuss. It is chasing income, infrastructure, and quality. Keep that in mind. Quality, quality. Don't chase the hype, guys. Don't chase the hype. Why Tampa Bay matters for commercial real estate? Let me tell you, this is why Tampa is still valid when it comes to the commercial real estate. It's ranked number 7. According to the U.S. commercial real estate, um, or top U.S. Uh, commercial real estate, Tampa is ranked number 7. Uh, uh, Investor focus 74% is targeted on multifamily. I get that a lot. People are looking for multifamily. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, also consider other markets. I understand buying in other markets, but understand with the market that you're in as well. That's why you have to be a bit more savvier with your investing. Industrial 37% target logistics, industrial. Yeah, this is true. Very true. These data centers are huge. Tampa industrial 7.5 vacancy. So that's not a huge vacancy. We're looking at other cities or big buildings where they're looking at double digit vacancies. So keep that in mind. Double digit vacancies. If you start seeing that in the building, be mindful if that's something that you're going to invest in. So understand your numbers. What gives Tampa a broader narrative? Ooh, population, job growth still support long-term demand. Home ownership, affordability, pressure supports multifamily demand. So with that multifamily, people are really looking for affordability. There's a big press for it. And if it's not there, what's happening? People are going to have to move in apartments. So multifamily, it at one end, it impacts the other end. Shrinking development pipeline can improve future fundamentals. Smaller, well-located industrial and multifamily assets make sense if the numbers hold. So they're looking at more than just their numbers. They're looking at the area that's being developed. And that is something that I wanted to tell you guys about, especially when you're looking at other areas that, especially in the Tampa Bay market, where these smaller towns are becoming cities because of the amount of development they're doing. And what I mean by development, it's more than just the house, it's like the infrastructure. So they're bringing in hospitals, bringing in grocery stores, they are bringing in jobs. They are bringing in businesses. They're bringing in restaurants. They're bringing in entertainment. So that creates a city, and that's what keeps people local, especially you have jobs and everything else to help support it. So keep that in mind. So action steps for the month of April. If you are a buyer, keep in mind it's negotiation time. Target homes with room for concession, where you have that flexibility. Instead of having to maybe knock down the price, look at the other opportunities that exist. If you are selling a home priced for today's market, not last year's fantasy market, that PH, don't do that. Don't do that. Win on presentation and responsiveness. So being quick to responsive, doing your follow up, and making it easy to show. And make sure that house is clean. Clean, less clutter, less clutter, less clutter. Presentation smells good, feels good, looks good. All of that, all the senses. We want to make sure that potential buyer feels like this is their future home. If you are investing, keep in mind, to my mentees that are watching this, make sure you guys are keeping this in mind. I'll read this nice and slow for you. Underwrite more carefully than you did in 2021 and 2022. Everybody was a superstar investor during that time. Everybody. Anybody, you could sell anything during that time. Favor income durability and location quality. Pursue value added only when the numbers generally work. Ooh, keep that in mind. So Q&A, guys. Couple of questions that have already transpired. So before we open this up, we had these top four questions that did come. So I won't open it up fully, but I want you guys to be aware of these questions. Should I wait for lower rates? No, guys. If you're in a position where you actually need to a home, purchase your home. Make sure it works for you. If you're buying, I'll help you pressure test deals before you move. If you're in the local Tampa Bay market, keep that in mind. How negotiable is Tampa Bay right now? It's negotiable, guys. The Tampa Bay market is negotiable. It is negotiable, but like I said, it's more than just price. It's also about those terms. It's mainly about the terms. And I will keep it real with you. It's about those terms. If you are selling, I'll help you price for this market, not last year's fantasy market. Feel free to reach out to me, set up a one-on-one. There should be some type of information at the bottom where you can set up a one-on-one. DM me. A lot of people DM me. This is how we got these questions. Is this a good time to buy versus rent? It really depends on your situation. If you know that you're going to be staying in the area for definitely at least in the next 5, 7 years, if you have a family and they're raising, it may be a great opportunity. Then it also depends on the home that you're looking for. You can get deals, negotiable deals right now. People are moving because they have to move. And if life is hitting them for some type of reason, there's opportunity there. Where do you still see investor opportunities? Ooh, in the Tampa Bay area, ooh, there are deals, and it depends on your strategy. I will continuously say that it depends on your strategy, as in what you are trying to do. It depends on your strategy. Sometimes you have to change up your strategy. For a lot of people who are buying homes and flipping homes, there's not a lot of flipping. So a lot of people are doing a bit more buying and holding. And if you're doing the flipping, you're flipping in specific markets that you have a bit more knowledge for. But then you're also including that holding cost. That's a big thing. People are getting tied up with with the holding costs. Holding costs is a bit more, so you have to keep that in mind that, instead of you being in and out of this property 90 days, now you're in a situation where you're looking at 6 and 8 months of being holding on to this property or possibly being into this deal. So if you're dealing with those permits, whew, certain counties in the Tampa Bay area, they're a bit slow on those permits. So if you're getting a property that you have to get permits with you're doing upgrades where you have to get in permits with, be mindful of the time that it's going to take for them to approve your drawings, your specs that you're submitting to the county or the city. Give it time because certain counties and cities are taking much longer. I think I told you guys before we were dealing with the deal that it didn't start for like over 3 months, almost 4 months before they were able to actually start the deal. So they're paying holding costs for 4 months before they even swing a hammer. Well, but trust me, they did a couple of things before, but they had to do some things that weren't so visible. So keep that in mind, guys. Thank you once again for chiming in. This is the April edition of State of the Real Estate Market with yours truly, Chris Brown. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on social media at Chris Brown RE Pro. The market is resetting. Let's see what's going to happen. Traditionally, April is the month where the sales begin to rise, going from April, May, June. Woo, let's go. Choo, choo. Let's make this train happen. Feel free to contact me directly. If you're thinking about selling your home, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to give you an analysis of your property and give you a better idea, one, of what the value is, and then also what the property would sell for. So keep that in mind. Those are two different things. People are asking, well, what's the value of my home? Oh, that's what I'm listed at. If you really need to sell your property, you may need to, like I said, it's a pricing analysis. I'm saying, so keep that in mind. But yours truly, like, subscribe. I'll catch you next month. Take care, guys.